This video will instruct you on how to set up the Palo Alto configuration in the Wavecrest Cyfin reporter solution. First we will log in. This assumes that you've already installed the product and set it up, logged in and changed your password, and also download the Wavecrest URL list. So at this point there are some things that are required before we set up the Palo Alto. One of the things we make sure of is that you've set up the Palo Alto Firewall to report on threat logs that show the web traffic URLs. You will also need to have a server available for Cyfin, which is the one you already have it installed on, so that requirement has already been met by then. And you also have to forward that traffic to the Cyfin server. In the Palo Alto product, there should be a place where you can set up a Syslog server to forward that traffic for your web traffic URL information. On the Palo Alto, you set that up to point to the IP address of where your Cyfin is installed. So for example, I have this installed on that address there, as well as the Syslog port that you want to use. This is not the UI port right here. This is not to be confused with that. By default, ours is the 1455 port on UDP. So when you're setting up the Palo Alto, just make sure that you're forwarding Syslog traffic on the Palo Alto from the Palo Alto to the IP address of the Cyfin server on port 1455, for example, or whatever other UDP port you choose. Once you have that set up on the Palo Alto side, you just need to make sure that the firewall on the Cyfin server has no firewall blocking the port that you want to use for syslog traffic. So for example, if you have 1455 port open for syslog traffic for Palo Alto, you need to make sure that the Windows firewall is not blocking that port. Once we've met those requirements, we can go ahead and set up the Palo Alto configuration. We just go into Log Data Source and Data Management, Setup, create new log file configuration, and we're going to select the log file type of Palo Alto Firewall. We're going to click on Next. And we want to enable the Syslog server for Cyfin to be able to write the logs accepting the forwarded traffic from the Palo Alto. So this is the default port that we use for UDP. Again, you can specify whatever UDP port that you want to use as long as you match the port here to the port that you have set up on the Palo Alto. And then of course you choose the log file location of where you want the files to be written to. The default is the location of the Cyfin and then WCCF log. For this example, for me, I already have a Palo Alto log in this location here. So I'm going to click on Next. If you have set up the syslog and everything correctly, you should see that the valid files should start increasing. You may get a big number. That it doesn't necessarily mean valid files, it just means valid lines in the syslog file that is currently being created. If you have everything set up, you should start see this number go from 0 to something other than 0. I'm showing 0 simply because I don't have a syslog port, but I'm pointing to a file that's already there. So I click on Next, and then I click on Done. And after I've verified that it's set up correctly, I can go into my log data source viewer. And I have multiple setups for this, but I can go into All, choose Palo Alto Firewall, and depending on the time and date that you have set up, you can choose View Last All, and you should see your valid log for the Palo Alto there. You should also be able to check your Cyfin install for that file being written and make sure that it's in the location of where you specified the logs to be written to and where to actually report on them for. Thank you for watching the video on how to set up the Palo Alto configuration in Cyfin, and you have a great day.